Kane, what are you doing, man?
I'm drinking a milkshake. Why?
You're drinking my milkshake. You're drinking it up.
This is yours?
I ordered the strawberry milkshake, and now you're drinking it.
Sorry, man. Would you like mine? I got the same flavor.
Oh, okay then. I guess that's solved.
And cut! That's a wrap on There Will Be Blood 2 table reading. Excellent job, guys.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Here's the first movie.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Peel that pig and slice him thick.
The body count is always bigger.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
And the fucking trees walked in those movies.
Hi, doggy.
What a story, Mark.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled.
It's just like your opinion, man.
Life moves pretty fast.
If you want your sequel to become a franchise.
37 dicks.
In a row?
I'm your number one fan.
G'day, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of Marathon Me with your host, Kane.
And Rhys.
And today we're continuing on with our PTA marathon, and we're going back in time, ladies and gents, going back in time further than the 1970s. Today we're going back to the late 1800s to go dig for some oil with PTA's fifth movie, There Will Be Blood. Rhys, would you like to introduce us a little bit?
Sure thing. So, when I first watched this film, it was, as PTA would have wanted to be consumed, is on a tablet as I brushed my teeth and ate meals over the duration of a week. And
what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Fucking terrible, right? But There Will Be Blood is a special movie in the continuum of PTA's filmography because it's pretty much his first non-hyper-stylized PTA that he's produced. It's the most grounded, the grittiest of them all so far.
Yeah.
And
And
it's PTA's critically acclaimed Oscars darling that
okay, I see.
Like Boogie Nights and Magnolia had people talking about this new kid on the block and how talented he was as sort of this sort of guy just beneath the surface. But There Will Be Blood had everyone talking in the mid-2000s because it was something that everyone freaking loved this, and it was up for almost every award all over the place. It was there were big discussions and a big awards push for it to win Best Picture that year, and it ended up not. But instead, we didn't get a PTA Best Picture winner as of yet. But instead, we got this grounded, dreary drama. Another character portrait, but could not be more different from Punch Drunk Love.
Oh my dear God, yeah. You know, drama is a good way to put it. You know what's a great way to surmise this film as well? An epic. Like, this is really, like, when I look at this film, I see it as like a historical epic almost, with how sprawling in scope and thematically speaking, honestly.
That's an excellent point, because pretty much every film preceding this has a lot to say about people and sort of human nature a little bit, where this feels a little bit more like it's trying to say a grander thing about the world and the trajectory of history and how the world is changing. And something very different to all of the other PTA films is that this movie has no sense of humor. Very, very actively so, though, because it wants and succeeds, I believe, in being something much grander than just a fun time to throw around a few jokes and explore a bit of an untraditional perspective. This is a movie that has no dialogue for the first 15 minutes of its film. Am I correct?
Yeah, yep, you are correct, good sir.
And every time that anything bad happens in this movie, you feel it. Nothing lacks weight. And eventually it ends up in a place where you feel like the world is a little bit shifted and a little bit changed. But before we go into that, here's a little bit of the trailer of There Will Be Blood.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've traveled over half our state to be here tonight. I couldn't get away sooner because my new well was coming in at Coyote Hills and I had to see about it. Ladies and gentlemen, if I say I'm an oil man, you will agree. I'm a family man. I run a family business. This is my son and my partner, H.W. Plainview.
You boys are a regular family business.
Now, you have a great chance here.
My son is a healer and a vessel for the Holy Spirit. He has a church.
And you will be cast up and thrust back to perdition.
I'm fixed like no other company in this field. I have a string of tools ready to put to work. That's why I can guarantee to start drilling and to put up the cash to back my word. I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what the others promise to do, when it comes to the showdown, they won't be there.
So, Kane, there's a bit of a hard movie to get through. It's a 2 hour and 40-minute long freaking journey through history. But what did you think about it? How was your viewing experience?
Well, I have certain thoughts. So, basically, I was similar to Magnolia, a little bit intimidated going into this movie, especially even more so with this, because with Magnolia, it was one that I was, very nervous about because of all the themes and nuances and, the runtime and everything. But this is arguably the big one of PTA's filmography. This is the big one. This is the one that everyone knows that is considered one of the greatest movies of the 21st century. So, going into it, I'm a little bit, I'm excited, but I'm a little bit nervous. And I will say, viewing-wise, one of the worst fucking experiences I've ever fucking had, dude. Honestly, viewing experience, dreadful. Because I had no internet, so I had to... I had to hotspot my mobile data to watch the movie. It stops like a third in, so I had to buy more data and then literally get to like the last 10 minutes and it stops and I'm like, no, I can't. And this is from the span of, I'd say maybe 2 in the morning to 6 in the morning, and I gave up. I was like, no, fuck this. I'll keep going tomorrow. Internet comes back. I finished the movie. Bada bing, bada boom. Really was not in a great headspace, I will say, while during my experience of this movie. That being said, Rhys, I gotta say, I quite enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this, honestly.
That is a testament. That is a testament to the movie being good in those horrendous conditions.
Oh, no, legit. Like, that cannot be stated enough, is that despite, like, how frustrating, angry, miserable the experience was, the film itself, it's pretty fucking impressive. Like, it's all, it's like saying water is wet or Pulp Fiction's good. This definitely lived up to the hype. I will say that I wouldn't say that I am in love with it, like I am with Punch Drunk Love, but there is a lot to admire in this. There is so much to admire in this, honestly, Rhys. Like, what about you, man? Tell the audience your thoughts, my man.
So, after watching it for the first time on my tablet when I was like 15 and just sort of half watching it in little increments, like almost like TikTokifying There Will Be Blood, It did not hit that first time. I had no idea what it was about, other than a greedy man wanting oil, right? And then, oh no, he doesn't really like the priest, and oh, he really doesn't like the priest. That was my experience with the entire film. Watching this for the first time, it felt like my first watch ever. Sitting down, paying attention, like really, really focusing on it.
Well, in a way, it was your first time watching it, really.
It is completely deserving of all the accolades that it has earned over its lifetime. Holy shit.
Hardly.
This, to me, these 2 hours and 40 minutes flew by. And it's so rich and dense in substance. It's where we've gotten rid of all the actors that that have been used by PTA so far are these character actors that are, you know, like I think very talented and do the job exceedingly well. But this time around, they've gotten the thespian in the production. They have Daniel Day-Lewis to embody a culture, a type of person, a humanitarian movement. Like oh my god, this is completely incredible. And it's that I think that watching it without sort of getting the subtext would be very detrimental to the experience, like as in very little to sort of get from it. And that's why this cannot be second screened. This is not a second screen movie.
No, not at all. Like, like, similar to when we discussed Punch Drunk Love, watching it with a partner, this is something that, like, you need to lock the fuck in and, like, just pay attention because, it is a rewarding, enriching experience, man. I'll go out on a limb and say I definitely know that I don't understand every little nugget of this movie. That's why I'm glad I have you here, Rhys, because I'm sure that what I may not have understood, I'm going to hear what you have to say, and I'm going to be like, oh, yes, it makes sense, but like you said, completely deserving of the accolades and just the notoriety that this film has earned for itself. It's completely deserving, honestly.
Narratively, what is it that mainly struck you about this film? What was that resonated the most that you were like, oh, this is the story they're telling, and this is what I give a shit about? I'm very curious.
Really? Well, for me, really, like, the way that I interpret it is just watching just the ambition that Daniel has, and this ambition that ultimately, in the end, destroys him as a person and as a human being, making him almost an inhuman monster throughout the entire runtime of this film, where, like, he has his sights set on, you know, the pursuit of power, the pursuit of greed, the pursuit of the quote-unquote American dream in, you know, the oil and the money that comes with it, and just how it ultimately really destroys him. I mean, I wouldn't even really say just, like, because it's not even really that he starts off the film as a good man. Like, legit, he adopts his son, is HW his son's name?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, you know, he adopts HW after his real father dies, and initially you think that, this is, you know, a sweet moment, you know, it's just going to be a movie about, you know, blah, 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 a good man falling from grace, but really, he starts off already as a corrupted man, literally using this family man image for his own personal gain, to, you know, get the fucking, what do you call it? The sympathy, the sentimentality of the shareholders, of the people that he's trying to buy this land to buy the lands from. And as the film goes on, we see a corrupt man just fall deeper and deeper and deeper into just doing anything he can to secure this power, and it was just such a fascinating watch, man. And, my God.
And Daniel seems at the start of the film like not too much of a malicious, evil character yet, right?
No, like not particular, like not malicious or evil, but more so just.
It's almost like you can admire his ambition at the start, but then it's like he loses everything else around him and loses sight of what's important, and then just it completely does consume him. And
exactly, yeah.
I agreed, like I would have agreed with you for a lot of the runtime that I thought that this was sort of an optimistic film trailing the self-destruction of this man. And like ultimately showing at the end that he is nothing. Yeah. But my reading of this film is that, so I think that this narrative that I perceived started to tick in this line where Daniel says quite early on, when he's speaking to Eli, actually, no, I think he's speaking to Paul, like the other Eli.
The twin brother.
The twin brother. And he's asked about his religion, and he says, I enjoy all faiths, but I belong to none. I like everything. And what this tells me is that we're at this point in history where the American West and a lot of Western culture shaped a lot by religion, right? In the 1800s, but we're moving a little bit in the direction of progression where no longer is it all dominated by religion and Catholicism. It now is a little bit of a world in flux and in division between religion and capitalism. Like, this is a world post-religion, and what's replacing it is this threat of capital, of the ultimate capitalist. And ultimately, I think that the conclusion of this movie is that I kept on thinking that it's like, oh, yep, we're going to see Daniel just like, be completely nothing by the end. But I think that in the end, Daniel becomes God. I think that Eli at the start of this movie is God and in charge of is the grandest, greatest spirit of the world. But by the end, capital gets the better of it and murders what is actually faith and replaces it.
Figuratively and literally.
And holy shit. But that is the reading that I am getting from this, and I think consistently throughout the entire thing, that is what I feel like I'm being told. And fuck, it does this well. Oh my god.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, no, god, man. Like you explaining these themes of, you know, of religion and capitalism and the death and not really, well, you know, to per se the death of religion with capitalism taken over in its wake. Like it, like a lot of that stuff wasn't lost. Like I'll go on a limb and say that it wasn't lost on me. It's just like, obviously, you know, as I stated before, is that like some of it I maybe didn't like latch onto some of the more finer details compared to, say, when you watched it, kind of thing. But definitely, I'll say this: it wasn't lost on me. Definitely wasn't lost on me. Is all I'll say.
That's good. I think that definitely the film is enough explicitly about faith that like it couldn't sort of go through you.
No, definitely, yeah. It's there. It's just like some of the finer details are maybe a bit over my head, whoosh.
Like the whole movie is about this dichotomy between the characters of Eli and Daniel, and both are like religious names, like Catholic names, from the Bible, and it's you're constantly, there's two major structures in like actual physical structures in this world that is created in front of us, which is the church and the oil tower. And both of them are quite pointy buildings, and they are run and essentially belong to these different figures in the community. And like I really love this first scene when they go to church, and like most of this film, right, the camera is honing in on Daniel. You barely get you barely ever get a scene that isn't centered around Daniel, and the camera is giving Daniel all the power. When we go into the church, though, the camera shifts to Eli, and it shows the control and power that he has over the room of his church when he's giving his sermon. And you can see how jealous and bitter Daniel is to this.
Yeah, oh, completely. He's absolutely seething, mate.
He's so jealous, and he just wants to be this. And he ultimately gets to it, I think. But there's
you're definitely not wrong. No, you're not wrong.
And it's like a fucking Wild West movie where there's not enough room in this town for the two of us. So the only way for him to get there and to get that influence and power is to kill God and replace him. That's what the Mighty Dollar sort of does. So in the start of this movie, I was quite fooled by Daniel as a character in this way that I was convinced to admire him to a certain point. Did this happen to you too?
What do you mean? Could I ask, like, what do you mean by admire?
I think that it was what it was that I got to this point of admiring his ambition, his ability as, like, he's almost painted, I think, initially as a battler. Like, as in the first, 10 minutes or so, when he's just mining by himself. This is a perfect way to introduce him, that he wasn't always a man that was born into power or wealth or anything, is that he started at the bottom as the guy doing the dirty work. But what makes and immediately, though, what shows you that he's different is that he's in this mine by himself, just like fucking grinding it out, right? And then he breaks his leg in the mine, fucking almost a sure death scenario, right? Where in these times, he can't just pull out his phone and call an ambulance to save him or anything like that. It's like most people in this situation, they would just die. They would eventually either dehydrate themselves or starve to death, or animals would come in the night and eat them. So But what Daniel does is he somehow gets himself out of this hole and then drags himself from the middle of buttfuck nowhere in the middle of the desert to civilization, and he keeps with him the freaking I think it's an opal that he found, or like pieces of opal.
Yeah, I think it's like, because I think it's supposed to be like a silver mine or something like that. But like he keeps like the little artifact that he finds.
And he keeps whatever he mined with him. And I was listening to a podcast with PTA talking with the Safdie brothers, and they were saying that this journey in itself is almost worth an entire movie. Like, just the miracle of him being able to get from that mine to civilization and to get help is a miracle. And and you can't help but admire that it's like he didn't give up and he kept on sort of pushing and going. And that is quite an integral point and kind of consistent point to his character, right, throughout the entire film, and is a very important characteristic to a character that resembles capitalism, right? That it's like, you keep on grinding no matter what. Survival and growth is the end goal. As well as that he has this adoptive son, HW, that that he gets from another fellow miner that dies on the job. And you do get a sense that he loves him and he has him around, not just as a pawn to reel people into his business, but as a son that he loves and that he has a heart. And and it reveals that but then as the film goes on, it slowly reveals who he actually is, and that he's not just a battler looking for survival and comfort. He wants it all. And
he's almost like less so a battler, but maybe even like a conqueror.
He goes from battler to conqueror. You're exactly right. At the throughout the journey of this film, and it's like it reveals his layers. But I think that what makes it such an emotional journey still is because you have the belief that maybe there's still that battler heart inside of him. And you're hoping that is what's going to run through, and not knowing where this film is going, you hope that trumps the conqueror inside him. And that's almost what capitalism sort of it is, right? It is this discourse and battle between like surviving and using capital as a means to live a fulfilling life, or using capital as a means to be as powerful as you possibly can be. And he shows the darkest, roughest side of that, which is the greed of just more and more and more.
Enough is never enough mentality.
Totally.
Fucking hell.
Do you like what do you think about the visuals and the atmosphere of this movie?
Oh, mate, this film is, because like, I mean, you wouldn't call this a Western, but like it definitely has that aesthetic, which I've gone on a record saying that I love Westerns, and I love just kind of that frontier aesthetic of the late 1800s, incredibly early 1900s. This is a gorgeous film to look at. Like, oh my days. Like, especially like, I'll give like one of my favorite examples, the scenes of when the oil tower first, when they first strike oil, and then when it lights on fire, just those visuals. Holy fucking shit! Cannot be like stated enough as to how gorgeous and awe-inspiring, but almost like giving you a sinking feeling as well. Is that everything is changing? Like everything has changed now for this village, for Daniel, for Eli, HW, like. Oh my dear God! Like you have a sinking feeling. Not even before the oil tower lights on fire, when they first discover oil, like you get that sinking feeling. It's insane.
Definitely the grandest scale visually and the sense of space in the continuum of PTA's filmography, right? Like,
yeah,
and holy shit, deservedly. Do you know about the 2 Oscars that this did win?
Let me take a guess. I want to take a guess, actually.
Go for it.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I will say, okay, yeah. All right, so I'm going to say best cinematography and best original score, since this is the first pairing of PTA and Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead fame, right?
Okay,
yes,
you
I'm
are
correct.
very close. Cinematography, yes, won best cinematography
Deservedly.
for Robert Elswit. Holy shit, deservedly.
Beautiful.
But I think that you overthought it, because the other Oscar went to actor in a leading role for Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, I was literally gonna say that, but then I'm thinking like, no, score maybe could happen. Okay, I had the answer on the tip of my tongue.
Interestingly, score not even nominated.
Really?
Yeah, sound editing.
Wow.
It was nominated, but not best no best original score or or best original song or anything like that.
Damn. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, but pretty much nominated in like most categories: best picture, directing, writing, adapted screenplay, art direction, film editing, sound editing. Like it.
I will say, obviously, like it goes without saying that the best actor award, so deserved. It's funny, I'm pretty sure this is my first ever Daniel Day-Lewis film that I've seen of his.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, obviously I've always been aware of the man, but like, yeah, I see the hype, man, because all my days, man, he is, I mean, it continues the trajectory of all the leading roles in PTA's work, where I don't see an actor, I not just see a character, but I just see like I see this figurehead of a bygone era of like this oil man, this manifestation of greed and capitalism, and it is incredible, man. My God, this is making me even more excited to watch Phantom Thread with Daniel Day-Lewis, I'll tell you what.
I was just about to say, a couple of weeks and we'll be talking about Phantom Thread, and I'll just give a little teaser. The beauty in that could not be more different of a performance.
Right, okay. Yep, I'm excited. I can't wait, man.
I think that you may have seen one other film with Daniel Day-Lewis in it, though.
Right.
Which is The Crucible with Winona Ryder.
I actually never watched that. I had been meaning to. I remember I was meaning to watch that years ago, but never got around to it. I was going to watch it. I think I had it on my watch list. Yeah, during 2019 when we read the Crucible in 2019, right?
2020, wasn't it?
No, dude, we weren't in school in 2020.
Oh, yeah, you're right, we weren't. Yeah.
But that's good that you bring it up, though, because I remember I was meaning to watch this in 2020 as well, but just, like I said, never got around to it, which is a shame, but... yeah, obviously it's always been in the back of my head.
Then it is your first. It is your first, and I'm excited for it not to be your last.
Mate, can't wait.
But back to this, like, this grand scale of the actual, like, set design and everything. it really is larger than life, and the freaking visuals of the oil towers on fire. It just it portrays this uncontrollable force, right? Like anger from the earth, like that. There's something unnatural happening, and that's the fucking bizarre thing about it, right? Is that it's sort of like a natural thing happening, is that it's just like catching a light and flame, this natural resource coming from the ground, and it's almost like the fires of hell are saying, no, what you're doing is wrong. And and it's like, when there is this giant explosion of the oil tower, there's a lot of disaster that already happens in this movie around Daniel. But with the explosion, it's sort of the first time that the disaster touches him and almost is like, okay, this can actually impact your life, and deafening his son and the HW and things like that. And I can't help but feel that with this uncontrollable force, Daniel is so satisfied, though, with the situation that he is able to control it. Is that he gets his team to turn off the valves and do all the things that need to be done to get to nullify the fire and to turn it off. And it's like that he is controlling hell itself.
Oh, and that's such a sick anecdote. Oh my god!
It's the first signs of that. This is what he's here for. He's here to fucking shift the earth beneath him.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It's so crazily intimidating, because that almost seems secondary to this first big tragedy of his life, of now his son being deaf, and it's sort of the start of Daniel's break here, I believe.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, because HW really is like one of the few things that kept him grounded and kept him human. And I mean, one thing that I really liked about this film is that, you know, after HW becomes deaf, we definitely see a rift start to appear between the two characters. And it's almost like that when HW becomes deaf, it's almost as if Daniel sees him almost as a what is the word? Like a hindrance. Like he's almost getting in the way now. He sees him less as his son, but sees him more so as just like, well, yeah, a hindrance, really. Not to repeat myself, but where he full even like, you know, just shoves him off to a school for the deaf, where he's just like, yeah, he's in the way. Let's get rid of that. This is not beneficial for me.
You know why I think it is? It's because HW, after this incident, every time he sees him is a constant reminder of a problem that he cannot fix. It's something he cannot control, and you know what it is? It's an act of God. Like, the deafening of his son is an act of God that he cannot have any influence over now. And that's why he first beats up Eli. It's following the frustration of the deafening of his son, and it's and it's so, like, you can see how petty this fight is when he first actually physically abuses him. And it's out of frustration of, like, you did this to my son and I can't fucking do anything about it. Fix it, but you're not going to fix it.
That's good. Yeah, it's the first time it's really kind of the first instance of him losing control almost.
And one of the last sort of straws that broke the camel's back with him sending his son off is once HW sets that fire that he can't control. And he gets rid of him because it's the fire that he sets, he can't put it out. And it's so it just reinforces this idea that it's the problem that he cannot fix in his life. So he's going to get rid of it, ignore that it's there. No longer my problem.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to focus entirely on something that I can control and can conquer instead.
There's
a line. There are some lines that I love that come from him, which is there's this point where he's saying, "I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed. I look at people and I see nothing worth liking. I just want to get away from everyone. It's this complete independence that he's looking for, and in effect, complete control. People are like, and not just his son, but everyone around him are hindrances to him. Humanity are just getting in his way.
You know, we've really been singing Daniel's praises right now, but, you know, we've got to talk about the other big player in the room, our boy Eli Sunday, mate, played by the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Dano. 2007, big year for Paul Dano, man. Really, like, kind of shot him into the stratosphere because, I feel like the only film that I knew him in before 2007 was, I think, was it The Girl Next Door? Was that the movie that he was in?
Yeah. 3 years prior, he plays a character whose entire character is just a nerd with a big dick. And And then 3 years later, he is freaking in Oscar-worthy masterpieces.
Well, he's in he was in Little Miss Sunshine where he plays a really great nuanced character. Taking the vow of silence, and he's just having some really great fucking scenes in that film. Great film, by the way. But oh my days, man, him and this, alright, two things. One, obviously, he's great, really, really commanding and really, really charismatic, and also a nice. There's almost like a nice little sense of kind of instability with his character that I really appreciate, and also I can. I'm sure Nicholas has mentioned this to you, but you can definitely see the Calcium Clubhouse inspiration that Nicholas got from this film and this portrayal. Hey, Rhys?
Oh, totally. Did he essentially cast me to be Paul Dano in Calcium Clubhouse?
Oh my god! Well, no. I got the semblance that Nicholas was trying to pull more of a Paul Dano in Calcium Clubhouse.
Oh, okay. Like, as in, maybe I'm cast as the brother Paul, where he has cast himself as Eli, the cult leader, sort of thing.
Yeah. That's what I got while watching the film, and also being like, I definitely see the Calcium inspiration. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah, makes sense, totally.
Yeah, and dude, I like also just like the sermons that he the sermons that he gives in the movie, like the first one that he does where we get a proper look at like how he runs the church and the command that he has over his flock. Really great stuff. And then we go into the scene with Daniel confessing his sins, which is holy wow. Funny.
Paul Dano does such a good job because whenever he's not in the church, he's so sort of withheld. He withholds himself and he's very quiet and held back.
Yeah.
And then when he gets in these sermon scenes, he completely lets it go and just explodes and takes total charge of the room from that.
Yeah, completely.
And the second sort of big church scene where Daniel ultimately gets baptized, it's like he's going back to the church at a point where he feels more confident and powerful and sort of sure of himself, and he goes there just to barter for property, right? That's like as in someone promises him that they will sell him the property, but you do have to come to church, get baptized first.
Yeah.
And he is willing to pay thousands of dollars first in exchange to not submitting to God.
Like
when the guy is there, like, just come to church, he's like, I'll pay you $500. No, I'll pay you $1,000. I'll pay you thousands of dollars. Which is so good, right? Because it shows how much it means to him to not submit to the church.
Yeah, completely.
And then he ultimately does. And that's what then allows his actual humanity and soul to come out when he lets it all loose and admits and confesses for abandoning his child. And that's where I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy! Yeah, and it's so much like, that's his humanity coming out that he's been repressing for most of this film, right? And repressing for a reason, because the only real way to survive as this capitalist king is to leave your personhood at the door. This is very, very minor comparison, but just to put some just to make it a little bit personal, when I worked at JB Hi-Fi, right, I loved it so much, but I was a salesperson. My job and the way for me to succeed was to sell more shit to people that they didn't need, and to get them to give more money to the company, and eventually I got kickback and money in my pocket for that. And it really was that thing where, for me to succeed in my job and be a good capitalist, I had to leave my humanity at the door, and I had to repress it. And it would fucking, like, it would kill me at times, man.
Yeah, the modern day Daniel Plainview over here.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
My
exactly.
God. Jesus, where's your mustache? Where's your mustache, brother?
Selling Sony TVs and iPhones instead of oil.
The modern day, there will be blood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like it really fucking kills you. I would go to bed and I would see the faces of customers that I know that I wasn't as good to them as I could have been, but instead I made the company very happy. And it's this dichotomy and almost the incompatibility of humanity in capitalism at times, or in the ultimate success of capitalism.
Yeah. No, definitely.
This scene's so fucking important when it sort of comes through a little bit, and then after, it's quite shortly sort of after that we have this fast forward in time, and there's probably the emotional high point of the movie when now the HW has grown up. He's gotten married to a little girl that was in the film earlier, and
Eli's little sister, I'm pretty sure,
and Daniel ultimately disowns his son, despite I believe loving him, because his independence is the ultimate betrayal. Is not being dependent on his like pseudo father anymore. Is what feels like a betrayal to Daniel.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I like, do you think that he loved him? Do you think that there was actually love there?
I definitely think that deep down there was always a part that did and still does love him, but because of like, you know, like one obviously on a surface level, like just the general state that he's in, where he's become a reclusive alcoholic. Like there's that, but also the fact that obviously he wants to, you know, go off on his own, do his own thing. Where Daniel almost sees, at least the way that I interpret it, he sees him as a rival. He sees him as like a betrayal, like a betrayal where he doesn't want to be partners with him anymore. He wants to do his own thing.
I agree with you, but admitting to loving him would be allowing himself to be vulnerable and ultimately allowing himself to be human. But this is Daniel's grand test in this movie, I think. This is the test in his character arc, where it's like, depending on how you deal with this situation, you are shaping the character now that you are going to be for the rest of eternity and your ultimate conclusion. And he refuses to be a man. He instead takes the mantle of God by refusing all love. Oh, harsh.
That is... Because obviously I was looking forward to seeing, you know, the iconic scenes and everything, but oh my god, that might be like one of the best scenes in the movie. Just that final conversation between him and HW, great stuff. Also, just quickly, I was thrown for a loop when we had the title card saying, I think it was 1927. Like I was not expecting for the final act of this film to throw us right into Great Depression era America. Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
That was just I just wanted to bring that up. It just threw me for a fucking loop, and just seeing this more modern architecture, let's say modern circa 1920s architecture, is just gave me a little bit of whiplash in a good way, but just threw me for a loop for a second. I'll tell you what, it took me a second to kind of get used to it.
You're so right, and I think that what's really good about that is that it shows that the world at that state of time is in such a state of flux and change, and it shows us it's changing, like the change happening, and then and then it's only been like a few decades, and now it feels like we're in a different world, and it's and it's cemented then in this final showdown between Eli and Daniel. When Eli comes to his house and is willing to make one last final land deal, and it all just blows up in their face.
Yeah. It's really funny. One thing I noticed about the scene initially is that when Eli initially comes in, is almost like he's gloating. He's gloating to Daniel. He's like, "Oh, I'm doing radio sermons," and he's walking around all proud in a nice suit while Daniel is on the floor, drunk as a skunk. And later on, as the scene goes on, we see Eli kind of open up more, where from what I remember, he's almost practically begging Daniel to give him to accept this final deal, because I think in the scene he mentions that a lot of his assets have gone under due to it being, Great Depression era America. He basically, I think he states he has nothing and is almost, on his knees begging for Daniel to... No, he is on his knees begging for Daniel to help him out, because from what I remember, Daniel basically is like, "Oh, to give you I'll help you, but you have to renounce God," from what I remember.
Yes,
and
yes.
It's almost, in a way, it's almost like it's a reverse of the I've abandoned my child scene, where we had kind of Daniel succumbing to the will of Eli, and now we have vice versa kind of thing. It's a nice reflection on what we saw before, which is great stuff. And then obviously it ends a lot differently compared to the that sermon scene with Daniel. That baptism scene, I should say.
Like that shows that the mighty dollar is God now, right? That Eli, even with his faith and with it all, is ruined because he doesn't have the money. And it's in a world no longer strictly dominated by religion. The rich man, the oil man, the boss is God, and life and death begins and ends with him, right? Like, as in, life is no longer faith, it is capital. And what a great way to sort of put the dots on the I's and crosses on the T's in the Great Depression is when people were dying just because they didn't have the resources that they needed. And and there's the iconic milkshake line of Daniel drinking Eli's milkshake. And what I got from this is that it's Daniel sucking the life straight from the ground, straight from the earth. Yeah. The life of Earth belonged to faith for hundreds of years at this point, but now he is claiming it for himself, and the man is claiming it. And that's where, I thought originally this film was gonna have this contention that no man can be God. I thought that it was gonna have this optimistic conclusion, but then with this intense climax of Eli renouncing his faith and being like a worm, like you can see him so vulnerable and almost like nothing, and now Daniel has all the power and ultimately kills him out of almost fun, almost like out of pity for him that he kills him, like stepping on a bug or something. And,
putting a dog out of its misery kind of thing.
And this ending came up, and it made me think the complete opposite. That the conclusion of this film is that the mighty dollar is God, faith is nothing anymore, and faith has been murdered and beaten with a bowling pin. In this battle between God and man, there will be blood.
And don't forget to check out our Facebook page at Marathon Me Official, all one word, and our Instagram, MarathonMe_official, to keep up to date on the podcast. And hey, if you want to get into contact with us, email us at marathonmepodc, yes, the letter C, @gmail.com. Like podcast without the arse.